George Kusunoki Miller, now popularly known as Joji, is a singer and songwriter whose journey from internet shock comedian to critically acclaimed and globally recognized musician defies the idea of a straight path to success. Once a defining figure of YouTube's absurdist golden era, built on pranks, commentary, and deliberate chaos, Joji made the rare decision to walk away at the height of his popularity, even as fans protested for him to stay. His career is not a linear progression nor a simple rebrand. Each chapter stands so distinctly on its own that it's almost difficult for many to believe that Joji of today was once Pink Guy, Filthy Frank, and the characters that dominated the platform less than a decade ago. In this video, we explore the life and different eras of George Miller and consider what his transformation reveals, not just about fame and identity, but about the courage required to reinvent oneself. This is Joji's story and a lesson in reinvention. Born in Osaka, Japan in September 1993 to an Australian father and a Japanese mother, George Kusunoki Miller, now known as Joji, spent his childhood and teenage years in Kobe. He attended an international pre-K to 12 school, an environment that exposed him early to multiple cultures, languages, and creative influences. Even at a young age, Joji showed a clear inclination toward creative expression, particularly through music and breakdancing, interests that would quietly lay the foundation for his future career. During his school years, Joji and his friends would often write songs about their teachers or classmates, initially as nothing more than playful comedic goofs. However, around grade 6, this casual experimentation began to shift. A music teacher recognized their songwriting as genuine talent rather than a joke, encouraging them to take it more seriously. From that point onward, Joji began developing his skills in the fundamentals of music creation, training his voice, understanding song structure, producing tracks, and operating synthesizers and other music production tools. What began as childish school humor slowly evolved into discipline and craft. At around 18 years of age, Joji moved to the United States, where he enrolled at the New York Institute of Technology. There, he pursued a Bachelor of Fine Arts degree, which he would complete in 2016. While his academic path reflected a commitment to creative development, Joji was simultaneously cultivating another outlet, one that would soon overshadow everything else. Long before mainstream recognition, Joji had already begun experimenting on YouTube. His earliest known upload dates back to October 2006 when, at just 12 years old, he posted a brief 12-second video of himself breakdancing in what appears to be a school hallway or classroom. The video was uploaded to a channel called Too Cool For You 92, marking the earliest digital trace of his creative presence online. In June 2008, Joji launched a new channel called Disaster Music. Here, he uploaded surreal comedy sketches and experimental content that he would later describe as a real cesspool of classic gutter humor and filth. It was on this channel that Joji unknowingly contributed to one of the internet's most iconic viral phenomena. In 2013, at the height of internet meme culture, the Harlem Shake was born and exploded globally. This phenomenon was recreated by everyone around the world, from university students to news broadcasters and sports celebrities. Few realized that the original video came from Disaster Music and in fact featured Joji as Pink Guy. By August 2014, Joji revealed in a video that Disaster Music was facing repeated copyright and community guideline takedowns. In response, he began uploading his increasingly extreme comedy to new channels, TV Filthy Frank and Too Damn Filthy, a move that would symbolically give birth to Filthy Frank, and permanently alter his trajectory on the internet. During the early to mid-2010s, YouTube was dominated by absurdist humor, shock comedy, pranks, challenges, and deliberately provocative sketches. This period marked the platform's most chaotic and experimental phase, where creators were rewarded for pushing boundaries and embracing extremity. It was within this environment that Joji Miller's YouTube career took off, propelled by the creation of characters such as Filthy Frank, Pink Guy, and Salamander Man. Initially publishing content on his channel Disaster Music, Joji's sketches steadily grew more surreal and shocking. However, as copyright strikes and community guideline takedowns became rampant, the channel became increasingly difficult to sustain. In response, Joji ceased uploads on Disaster Music and launched two new channels, TV Filthy Frank and Too Damn Filthy. These platforms marked the full emergence of the Filthy Frank universe, where his characters flourished through sketches, endurance challenges, music videos, and grotesque performances rooted in shock comedy. While the content often appeared chaotic, the Filthy Frank universe was carefully constructed, with characters such as Pink Guy, Salamander Man, and Filthy Frank himself acted as embodiments of everything a person should not be. Together, these characters satirize internet culture, consumerism, and nihilism, with each escalation rewarded by a growing audience and a platform that favored shock value. Beyond his solo work, Joji frequently collaborated with other creators that gained popularity in a similar comedic sphere. These collaborations formed what became informally known as the Cancer Crew, a group that included figures such as iDubbbz, Max Mofo, Anything for Views, and other adjacent creators such as H3H3 Productions. Though never an official group, the Cancer Crew shared a common comedic philosophy, intentionally outrageous yet self-aware and rooted in conscious irony. Their collaborations in one another's videos helped build their reach and solidified a shared identity. At its peak, the Cancer Crew represented a countercultural corner of YouTube that embraced offensiveness as satire, often mocking PC culture and internet hypocrisy. In 2014, a subtle but significant shift occurred. Joji uploaded a video titled Filthy Frank Exposes Himself, in which the boundary between character and creator was deliberately broken. The video depicts Filthy Frank and other characters anxiously awaiting Joji's arrival before he appears as himself to speak to his viewers. He revealed that he had been unwell for some time and was diagnosed with an undisclosed neurological condition that caused seizures, which was ironic given the generally off-the-rails nature of his characters. Joji explained that the stress and demands of maintaining the Filthy Frank channel often triggered these seizures. Unsure how fans would react, he openly directed dissatisfied viewers to unsubscribe. He introduced himself not as a character but as a person, discussing his family background, his focus towards graduation, and his intention to shift focus toward other creative projects. While Joji did not yet signal letting go of the characters that fans had come to adore and enjoy, little did fans know that a pivot to a new chapter was on the horizon. As of the time of writing, the Too Damn Filthy channel has garnered about 2.3 million subscribers, while the TV Filthy Frank channel has garnered about 7.8 million. In Joji's own words, these channels now exist as museums, relics of a nostalgic and unforgettable era that defined the height of internet absurdity of the 2010s. Transition from Filthy Frank to Joji was not defined by spectacle, nor by a single decisive moment. Instead, it unfolded gradually as Joji Miller began distancing himself from the characters that had once demanded constant chaotic escalation. Where his previous era thrived on noise, confrontation, and excess, this new chapter was marked by restraint. The absence of characters and uploads featuring those characters signaled not a disappearance but a realignment. one that prioritized his true passion over visibility and fame. It seemed to be that Joji was finally heeding his calling. In late 2017, Joji signed with 88 Rising Records to release Ballads 1 in 2018 and Nectar in 2020. Joji's debut studio album, Ballads 1, marked a significant milestone, debuting at number 3 on the US Billboard 200 and at number 1 on Billboard's top R&B hip-hop albums chart. The album's success was notable not only for its commercial performance but for the context surrounding it. Joji was no longer perceived solely as a former YouTuber experimenting with music, but as a distinct artist capable of producing deeper composition and songwriting worthy of acclaim and recognition. Tracks such as Yeah Right and Slow Dancing in the Dark further solidified his presence within the contemporary music landscape. Joji continued this trajectory with the release of Nectar in 2020, his second studio album, again under 88 Rising Records. Compared to Ballads 1, Nectar displayed a broader sonic palette, incorporating elements of pop, electronic, and alternative music. The album included collaborations with established artists and producers such as Lil Yachty, Diplo, and Benny, marking Joji's growing integration into the mainstream music industry. Commercially, Nectar was his most successful release to date, debuting at number 3 on the Billboard 200 chart and reaching a wider global audience. In 2022, Joji released his much-anticipated third studio album, Smithereens. As his prior albums, Smithereens met with immense critical acclaim, peaking at number 1 on US Billboard's top rock album and number 5 on the US Billboard 200 chart. What might be Joji's most successful song to date, both critically and commercially, is the album's lead single, Glimpse of Us, a piece of art that represents one of the clearest expressions of Joji's artistic identity. The album and its lead single further affirmed that Joji's post-YouTube evolution was not temporary or experimental, but a distinct entity in the music industry. As at the time of writing, Joji has announced the release of his fourth studio album called Piss in the Wind, set on the 6th of February 2026, that fans and critics alike await with bated breath. Despite this growth, Joji maintained a notably reserved public presence. Interviews were infrequent, promotional appearances limited, and social media engagement minimal. Unlike his YouTube era, which demanded constant interaction and performance, Joji's music career was characterized by intentional distance. This approach reinforced the seriousness of his artistic shift. The absence of spectacle allowed the focus to remain on the music itself. George Miller's journey is often framed as a dramatic pivot, from chaos to calm, from satire to sincerity, but that framing misses something essential. His transformation was never about abandoning who he was. It was about choosing which parts of himself deserved to last. The absurdity, the irony, the emotional rawness, all of it was always there, only the medium changed. As Filthy Frank and Pink Guy, Joji held up a distorted mirror to the internet, exposing its excesses by becoming the excess himself. Those characters thrived in an era that rewarded shock and constant escalation, and Joji mastered that environment better than most. But mastery came at a cost. The same platform that amplified his creativity demanded endless performance, blurring the line between character and creator until sustaining it became physically and mentally unsustainable. What followed was not a disappearance, but a genuine pursuit of passion. In music, Joji found a space where restraint mattered more than noise, and where silence could speak as loudly as spectacle. Albums like Ballads 1, Nectar, and Smithereens did not simply prove that a former YouTuber could succeed in music. They demonstrated that reinvention, when rooted in authenticity, can feel inevitable rather than forced. Glimpse of Us, in particular, stands as a culmination of that shift, stripped back, emotionally exposed, and resonating far beyond the internet culture that first made his name. Perhaps the most telling aspect of Joji's evolution is how little he insists upon it. He does not constantly explain his past or defend his choices. The old content remains online, preserved as artifacts rather than erased embarrassments. The new work stands on its own distinctly. There is no denial of what came before, only acceptance and moving forward. In a digital age where what you produce as a content creator is commanded by audience's demands, Joji's story offers something rare. Proof that breaking out of your mold and the monotony of life does not require permission, and that leaving success behind can sometimes be the bravest success of all. This is not a story of a creator who changed careers. It is a reminder that identity is not fixed, that reinvention is possible, and that following one's true passions may demand letting go of what once defined you. This was Joji's story, and a lesson to us in reinvention.